So we are lucky enough tonight to have joining us the All Blacks head coach, Ian Foster. Fozzie, welcome. Thank you for your time tonight. Now, the fallout continues from those final moments of Thursday's matchup. We're seeing new footage every waking moment. So tell us, from your perspective, do you think that decision is going to have an impact on the game going forward?
Oh, well, in some ways, I hope so. I mean, if it puts pressure on the game to eliminate time wasting, I think that's a positive. But I think there's two separate issues here. Well, there seems to be a big debate about time wasting, and I think that's one issue. I think this is an issue where a referee gave very clear instructions time and time again, and they weren't followed. And ultimately, the ref is the ultimate arbitrator of the game. And if players elect to not listen, then I guess you play with danger in that.
Fozzie, it's been a really interesting championship so far for the inconsistency across the whole tournament from all the squads. But also during the game, we've noticed that the ebb and flow, the inconsistency is higher than normal. I mean, is that something that you're worried about or addressing or thought about?
Yeah, look, it's when we study the game, you certainly look at the ebbs and flows of a game, and it's I don't think anyone has probably put an 80-minute performance together that they would sit back and say, well, they've nailed everything there. And even our performance in Hamilton, I thought our third quarter was a little bit flat for about 15 minutes there. So, we're certainly, cognizant that we're trying to grow our concentration and our game understanding for 80 minutes. We certainly had a flat patch, and I guess between about the 57th minute and about the 70th minute where we really allowed, areas that I think we've been strong in with our defence. We got quite sloppy there and let in 3 tries, and the Aussies were good enough to take that. So, they're a team that never stops, and if we stop again on Saturday, then we've seen what can happen.
Fozzie, really keen to understand your selection this week. Who's available, in particular, Ardie, whether he's back. Some would obviously be forced because of injuries, but does it excite you that some of these guys are now going to possibly get an opportunity to get some test match footy that haven't seen some of that game time?
Yeah, look, it's we've had a great run with injuries, haven't we? I think we've got through most of this championship without having many. Suddenly we sort of had 2 in the same position within about 3 minutes, with Davey and Quinn, and obviously with Sam's head knock. A couple of other niggles have come from the game that we'll have to assess, tonight, tomorrow when we get all the medical reports. So yes, there will be some opportunity, but that's exciting, Mills. We all know that. It's we've got squads that have trained their butts off really to get the team ready, and everyone's got to be ready to play. And again, it's it's going to come down to a bit of a final, a bit of a decider, and someone's going to get a chance to run out there. So that's what test matches are about, and we'll certainly be ready for that.
Fozzie, the majority of your test matches this year have been decided in the last 20 minutes. JK talked about these inconsistencies that teams are suffering from. Is it frustrating? How do you believe you can deal with that, the fact that that is when these test matches are going to be won? And how do you prepare numbers 16 to 23 for that responsibility?
Yeah, well, I think when you look at the last part of the game, there's always 2 views on the last part of the game. It's like when you're playing in South Africa, the second test, we were down with 15 minutes to go, and South Africa took the lead. So I thought we showed great composure to come back. I thought in Argentina, in Christchurch, again, we were up and I felt quite comfortable. And then we got a bit blinkered in that last quarter. So it depends whether you're up or down. And certainly in Marvel Stadium, up at 31-13, it reminded me of the first Bled last year. I think we were up 33-8 with 15 to go at Eden Park, and they scored 3 tries at the end and made the loss a little bit tighter. So, it just proves you just got to play to the 80, and we're going to work through that in the next 24 hours about what happened with us mentally in that particular spell. But the flip side of it, we did allow Aussie in, but we certainly had a last opportunity to win a game, and we took that. And so there is some positives out of that. A lot's been made of that refereeing decision, but all he gave us was an opportunity to win the game, and we were probably good enough to do that. So in that aspect, I was really pleased the way we finished.
Fozzie, what would you do to change the game around time wasting? If they said, right, Fozzie, you've got 2 things that you're allowed to do. Because I reckon if you leave it up to the players, I don't blame the players because I would have done exactly the same myself to slow the game down the last 3 minutes. What do we do to actually take the control off the ref and off the players to make our game a bit faster?
Yeah, well, I know you've probably got a list of about 10 things, JK, so you probably thought about that a bit more than me. But, I think we've already trialled stuff in New Zealand last year at super level with the resets of scrums, speeding up that process, and that was very successful. And it'd be great to see that flow through to the international game. I think huddles and taking your time when you go to lineouts is another one. And then how we deal with constant injuries, particularly to front rowers around line out and scrum time. It's how we deal with that aspect, and that's balancing the need to speed the game up versus I guess the safety aspect, and that's the trouble that we have. But last week's game, a great stadium, indoors. Ball and play was, I think, down about 5 minutes from our test before, down to 28 minutes. So it is something that we want to get the minutes high. We want to play, and we try to do everything we can to do that.
Ian Foster, I want to thank you so much for your time tonight. All the very best for Eden Park. Looking forward to it.
Thanks very much, team.